Hello and welcome to ATX TV from the couch. I'm Sam Highfill from Entertainment Weekly. I'm so excited to bring out our panelists for this next panel about one of my favorite shows on TV, The Bold Type. So we're going to go ahead and bring these panelists out, get the conversation started. We're going to start with executive producer Wendy Straker-Hauser. There you are.
Hey,
We did it.
I did that on purpose.
This has been everyone's life. Everyone's life for months has been trying to figure this out. All right, next up, let's bring out, she plays Jane, Katie Stevens.
Hello.
Hello. All right, we've got Kat Edison herself, Aisha Dee. I love the dramatic pause.
I'm not Kat.
All
Our
right,
computer is restarting.
we've got Meghann, Fahy, and Aisha Dee.
Hey!
So jealous.
Properly socially distanced, which we all appreciate.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, before we get into the clip and the season and all things, there's Aisha.
Did I get in?
We did it. We're done. That's the panel. No, just kidding.
What a ride.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Let's do this now. So yeah, we're going to talk all things Bold Type. I have a lot of questions about what we just saw, what we're going to see, what happened years ago, all sorts of things. But I know we all kind of, before we got started, we wanted to acknowledge what's going on in the world right now. It's kind of impossible to do any sort of thing right now and not talk about it. ATX has given us this amazing platform. So much has been made of using our voices, and we want to do that. So I do kind of, right off the bat, before we get into all the fictional stuff, want to give you guys the opportunity to, if there's anything you do want to say to those watching, just about the current state of things and what we can do.
I guess I'll speak. Sorry if I cut someone off. I heard someone's voice. I know like everyone has had a really intense week or year or 5 years. In the last week, I've spent most mornings kind of just trying to like scoop my hot up off the floor and like get out of bed. But the thing that's always brought me comfort has been my movies and my poetry and my music and my shows. So I just really hope that this panel today and the rest of the season of the show brings some comfort and peace to people in the same ways that my shows bring me comfort and peace. And right now, the most important thing to me feels like to just use my voice to amplify the voices of the activists and organizers who have been fighting for Black lives and who've made it their life's work to fight for the liberation of the people. So go follow Blair Imani, go follow Janaea the Future, Miss Packyetti, Kendrick Sampson. Those are just a few of the voices that we should really be looking to right now. And remember to stay hydrated. The future belongs to us. Black is beautiful. That's it.
Amen.
That was so beautiful, Aish.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Well,
folks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing is the Bold Type has always been a sort of safe haven for all of us. But, even though we like to see ourselves as an escape for people and a comfort for some people, I do have a lot of pride in the fact that we do tell important stories, and we do tell stories about what it's like to be living in our time. And I just hope that we get to have opportunities so we could be telling the stories of what is going on right now, because I think that's so important. And I think as white people, we need to be here to listen and support and to educate ourselves and to figure out what the best course of action is and how we can be of help and how we can be of support to people. So I would just implore anybody out there to educate yourself, to watch the important movies, listen to the important podcasts, and to, like Aisha said, to amplify Black voices and the activists and the people out there that are fighting the good fight.
Yeah. All right.
I would also just add, I'm so proud to be part of this show, which really does, as Katie says, address the uncomfortable topics and really live in them. I remember a few seasons ago when we had that dynamic between Katie's character and Aisha's character and the white privilege and being in the writer's room. It was a really uncomfortable situation to sit in with all of us representing different experiences in our own lives, and how do you put that on paper, and does Katie's character look flawed, and just really I think there's just something beautiful about our platform and about Freeform for giving us that platform, and I promise you we will not shy away from the things that are happening today, both heartbreaking and inspiring, because I think great change is coming from it, and these three women embody what happens when you have three powerful, bold women who are gonna call each other out and make each other better and not stab each other in the back. And I think it's just a great platform to bring today's issues to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that kind of is the perfect transition to the clip we all just watched, because obviously a very serious issue that you all are tackling, because we're watching Jane's recovery from her surgery, which, Wendy, I want to start with you because I am interested in terms of that specific storyline. You know, that seed had been planted, you know, ever since she found out about the BRCA gene. I feel like even just as a fan, I'd kind of been wondering if and how far they were going to kind of like go into it in terms of tackling. What kind of was behind the decision in terms of doing it now, and also how you all wanted to do it?
It's a sensitive subject, and we wanted to do it right, and also, you know, speak to as many experts as we could, and be considerate, while at the same time not live in the pain of the recovery process, which is not so TV, you know, and light. So I think flashing forward 3 months really was a nice way to do that. And then that montage, which we all saw, gave viewers an idea of what Jane was going through day to day, and the hardship and the triumph and the moments alone, which were really heartbreaking. That moment when she sort of unzips her shirt and looks at herself in the mirror. And then I think what we'll explore is what happens when your physical scars have healed, but your emotional scars have not, and how do you move forward through the world, especially with Ryan not there, and also when you're getting a promotion and you have to act like an inspiring leader, but on the inside you're crumbling. So I think that's something we can all kind of relate to, of course not in the same way, but so that was sort of the idea behind it. And in terms of why we made that leap for Jane to decide to get this surgery, we always really, when we're grappling with what our character should do, look at our characters themselves and just ask ourselves, what would Jane do? Jane is a planner, Jane is organized, Jane likes to check the boxes, and having those two emotionally heavy weights that are her breasts in this scenario, like sort of hanging over her head of, is this a ticking time bomb? For Jane, it just felt like the right decision at that moment, so that she could sort of shed the fear of what if.
Sure. Well, and Katie, I know you and I have talked a little bit about like the research that went into this, but like what kind of was that filming experience like for you? Again, this is a moment you probably knew maybe would come at some point, but to actually kind of get into it and be Jane in those moments, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, reading the script and kind of going through the recovery. We had doctors on set who kind of walked me through like what pain I would be in, and you know, at what point I would be able to lift my hand high enough, and things like that. So that was good to kind of have that information at my fingertips when we were filming it, because I care so much about this story and I want to tell it with as much reality and authenticity as we can have. But it's super emotional. I get a lot of fans who have gone through what Jane is going through and have shared their stories with me with such open hearts, and also having a personal relationship to it through my husband, whose mother passed away from breast cancer. So I'm grateful that we have a team of writers that does their research and goes through the motions of really trying to figure out how to make it the most authentic story that it can be. They've just provided me with so many resources to be able to tell that story, which is great.
Yeah. Well, kind of in terms of what's happening this season, where we left off at the end of the first half of season 4, obviously Sutton got married and she got a new job, a lot of things happening in her life. When we kind of pick back up with her, obviously we see her tending to Jane in the clip, but in terms of kind of where we go from here, how is she handling work-life balance with a new job and a new hub?
I think it's pretty intense for her. It's really cool to see her succeeding finally in becoming a stylist. That's what we've been watching her the point that we've been trying to get her to for, the first 4 seasons of the show. So I think it really pays off. But I think something that Sutton learns is that, it never really gets easy to have it all. We're always talking on the show about having it all and that it's possible, and it is. And I think it's cool that we're showing her have it all, but we're also seeing her really struggle with how to make all of that work. She and Richard have always been really mutually supportive of each other, and so I think it's also really nice to see that continue through sort of the madness that becomes her being a 26-year-old married stylist.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely not without its challenges. It does get complicated for them, for sure.
It's not easy to have it all.
Nope.
Well, and Aisha, I obviously want to get into arguably one of the biggest cliffhangers of the end of the first half of the season was Kat losing her job. And it's so funny. I was recently rewatching the pilot just because I wanted to, and this show brings me joy. And it's so funny because I feel like from day one, Kat's had a platform. And so, did we lose her? Technical difficulties. Meghann, what's going on?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Aisha keeps losing the connection. So, do you want to just come over here?
If it helps you, I can chime in for a second.
Yes, go ahead, chime in. Let's talk about Kat's journey.
Well, what we in the room found sort of fascinating, and speaking about the pilot, is that in the very beginning, and there's Aisha, so I'll stop in a second, but in the very beginning, Kat was the one who came from the most socioeconomic privilege, and also the one with the biggest job.
Wait, this is absolutely. Sorry, Wendy, I cut you off again. I'm awful.
No, yeah, I think, Wendy, go ahead, finish your thought, and then we'll throw it to Aisha.
Hi. Okay.
There you
So
go.
I was just saying that there is something very interesting about watching Kat for the first time be the one who's not in the highest paid job, who's not in the most successful. I mean, yes, she left Scarlet because she did something incredibly brave and very inspiring. But for the first time in the whole series, we're going to see her struggle financially in a way she's never had to. And also at a time when Sutton is rising and Jane is rising. So that is a really fun dynamic to play. And now you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah, it is really cool to get to see Kat, I think, maybe reckon with her privilege for the first time ever, which I think is especially relevant right now, given the fact that we're all kind of examining our privilege, whether it's, you know, the fact that we're able-bodied or maybe we're cis and we don't know what the trans experience is like, or, you know, for Kat, she's lived with this kind of, this financial safety net her entire life, and for the first time that's stripped away, and also the kind of built-in confidence of being social media manager at Scarlet Magazine is also taken away, so she has to go and re-find herself. I just think it's really cool to get to see Kat kind of face that for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just kind of speaking generally, Wendy, I'm curious, just kind of like in terms of the writer's room, where do you guys go for inspiration? Is it a lot of like discussion of just like current events, your own lives? Like, I'm very interested what it is just when you sit down to craft a season, like where do you start?
Well, like I said, we always, the three of them, we always start with their characters, and that really, I think, is why it's hopefully always comes off really authentic, because we're really letting the characters that we built make the decisions that it seems like organically they would make. And then I'll also say that these three girls, who I love so much, will always feel comfortable, I think, to come to me when we're not being authentic or when something doesn't feel true to their character. And we have conversations, and every single time we have them, the result is 20 times better than had we not. So I think we're all extremely collaborative, which I love being. And then if I cast the room right, and we have amazing people, which we did last season and we have in seasons past as well, from all different walks of life, then in a really beautiful way, like a perfect dinner party, it just kind of organically comes out. That's how hopefully it works. Just sort of the magic of casting a room like a dinner party and having it go from there.
Sure. Well, the most important question that I have for you three ladies is about the dance routine that you did for The Bachelorette. Tell me everything about the process of learning that routine.
We have been begging for a dance routine for 4 seasons, and we finally got it.
First of all, I have never been
Meghann.
begging for it, okay? Learning choreography is actually my nightmare. Like, I literally cried during rehearsal one time because I was like so embarrassed at how bad I was.
Meghann,
I just want to make it clear.
It feels weird to talk to you through here because you're over there, but Meghann, you did such an incredible job. And also in the scene before at the rehearsal where we're supposed to be bad and you were improvising, I remember looking over at you at one point. She had done like this thing and it sent me all the way to the floor.
The only reason I did that was because I didn't know the actual choreography.
Well, I'm about to call.
You made it better.
I'm about to call us out a little bit because the reason I think that we had this dance number is because in a previous season there was a scene that we had where the girls are kind of like all down in the dumps, and we all did a choreographed dance. We like it was something that like the girls must have made up one time, and they just do it when they're down. And so it was us dancing to Spice Girls. And then everyone said it didn't really like make sense. So then it didn't air and we were devastated. So I think that they like kind of were throwing us a bone by being like, all right, we want you to have the fun. So here's where it's going to come in.
I will never get over the fact that the Spice Girls routine has never been seen. It was brilliant. And it's Jamie Travis's idea too. We got to shout out Jamie.
And even though it's not in the season, it just needs to be like, look, the bold type's fun.
I will tell you guys.
That should be the log line.
We are huge fans of it. We were not expecting it. It was.
We went rogue.
And
we did.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but unfortunately the Spice Girls song is very expensive. So next time you're gonna do an amazing impromptu, do it to one of Paul's songs or one of your own songs.
Get some boys like girls in there. That really gets
The
people on
internet
TV.
got shit again.
But we loved it. And any chance we get to have you guys dance and sing, we want to take, because these three are triple threats. No joke. It's like blows our minds. Like it
I
blows.
would say like I'm working with the singing and the acting. I wouldn't really say that dance is a forte of mine. I don't think that I'm gonna
Katie,
be.
I think you very underestimate yourself. You very do it.
I watch myself back and it feels like when I'm doing the dance, I'm like, whoa, I'm professional. And then when I see it back,
No.
I'm like, oh, it doesn't look as good as I thought it did.
I totally disagree.
Well,
I think you're great.
I agree that you think you're bad, so there.
It's different. I'm objectively not good at learning choreography. It's totally different.
Well,
Okay, I'll make up for both of us.
It's true. Let's be honest.
low-key-
Aisha's carrying both of us on her back.
Yes. She's gonna have back problems.
Oh, yokes.
Well, I also want to touch on this show. You guys have some amazing guest stars. I know Ali Stroker is obviously going to be in this next episode.
Love her so much.
I want to start. I'm interested, Wendy, for you guys, like what comes first, the guest star or the story? Or does it kind of depend?
That's complicated. That's a tough question. I think we really have to start with the story because we don't always have a guest star locked in. So that's the honest truth, and the way the production works and the timing of it all, we start. But then if we get an amazing guest star, we will often work our magic to sort of make it fit. But we've been so lucky. And again, I'm sorry, I'm just giving you guys so much virtual love here. But every time we go out to someone, they love these girls. They love the bold type. They love Melora's character. They love the inspiring message. And they just, it usually comes down to scheduling, because there's always this feeling of, we want to be a part of the show. And that's really nice for us. So.
Yeah. Has there been a particular guest star for the actors that has like kind of, shocked you a bit, gotten you a little excited?
I feel like we can't say because it was an episode that isn't gonna air. Can we say, Wendy?
It's funny. I was about to say that as well. I feel like we can. Look, obviously, we all know we had to. Go ahead, Katie.
No, I was gonna say, because I feel like who knows what's gonna happen. We all obviously hope that we get another season, and then maybe those episodes will air, but I don't think that it like hinders anything to say it.
So you're okay saying it?
So now Katie's giving us permission to
No,
say it, which I
I'm
love.
okay.
I'm
You
just
have my full
telling.
permission.
It's okay? Is it okay? So someone give me a thumbs up. I don't know, guys. I don't know if press-wise we should hold off. But let me tell you this. We have someone really fun and charismatic and funny who was just the perfect addition to these girls. We did shoot his scenes. It did come after a Celebrity Family Feud PR experience where right off the bat, this person said, I want to be on the show. And I happened to be there when the bold type was competing in Family Feud. And right there, I said, we're going to make it happen. And we did make it happen. And I believe that we will get the chance, hopefully, to air that at a later date. So that's what I'll tell you. Those are my teasers.
Those were great. That was great.
It's a great teaser. Yeah.
Good job, Wendy.
This is very exciting. Well, I also want to throw it kind of all the way back because I think that's fun. I was trying to remember, like, you guys didn't, I remember when we first met in season 1, we talked about how you didn't have a
Hearing stuff.
I believe.
We did what?
This is, but
Is
this
that
is,
question for me? Or no.
it's for all of you because I was going to throw it back to, like, when did you all first meet? Because you guys, did any of you know each other before the show?
No.
No.
Okay. What was the first meeting?
We met when my boyfriend at the time was doing a concert in New York, and it was right before we were gonna go do the pilot. And so Meghann lived in New York, and then we told Aisha that she should come in, and so we had like this New York night together before going to do the pilot, and we went to my now husband's concert, and then went to like a diner until like 3 a.m. and had drinks. And like I think by the first 5 minutes of like being together, I just vividly remember us in my hotel room that I was staying at, and like I think we like peed in front of each other, and we were like, well, here we are.
Yeah.
I think like I was running late, which is so unlike me.
You
and
came
we
straight
ran
from the
into-
airport, right?
Yeah, we ran into each other in the elevator, I think, and immediately did like the girly like, like so annoying. Oh, but Min and I actually met at the test before we were cast, and I actually like distinctly remember us kind of sitting in a corner. We were both feeling pretty insecure about our auditions, I think. And Meghann was like, I don't know if I did a good job. And I was like, no, fuck that. You did an amazing job.
She really did. She really did give me that pep talk. They did this weird thing where I like auditioned, and then I came back out, and they told me not to leave, and then they asked me to come back in. So I started freaking out. She was like, hey, listen, you go back in there and you do it. This is really great.
That's so great, because you see, that's what you guys do on the show for each other. I don't even have to be here. You just write your own stuff.
That's not true. We need you.
Okay, I'll stay.
Well, that is, no, but I think the magic of this show and why so many people love it is also tied to the magic of female friendship. And I mean, some of my favorite things in this life are my friendships with the women in it. And so I am curious, like, have there been things from your like real life female friendships that you've like brought into like scenes or show? Like, has your real life friendship influenced anything on screen?
All the time.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, Megan's always making us laugh in real life, and then also on set. Like half the time that we can't get through a scene without laughing is because of Meghann.
And Katie's always cooking for us and taking care of us and telling us what to do when we need her to tell us what to do, because without her, we're useless.
Yeah.
And what else do I tell you?
That we're beautiful.
What has been like, no, I was in terms of like bloopers and making each other laugh, has there been a specific scene that was like the absolute hardest to get through?
There have been a few.
Serious ones. It's the serious ones where we can't stop laughing, which just is so inconvenient.
The thing that makes me the most sad is that we don't have a proper blooper reel, and we have incredible bloopers. Like, it's so, and we've been asking for the bloopers.
I will get on that. I would wonder, and I wasn't there, but one of my favorite scenes was a very early one where the yoni egg got stuck in the JJ. And I would imagine that you guys had some laughs there too.
Well, we knew that we only had like a certain amount of time to shoot it. And Victor Nelly, who was directing, like, he just loved to have us mess with each other. But we also knew that we couldn't break. So like Aisha's down there. And I remember distinctly during one take that Victor gave her a bunch of stuff to like pull out. So it was like a duck keychain, a wallet, like, and it was my coverage. So I had to like still maintain, and I couldn't get through it. And then Megan's over here just knowing me so well and ad-libbing that, we're in my happy place with puppies and drinking, because that was ad-libbed.
That was a great line. Don't ruin puppies for me.
don't.
I know.
Can't. No. Winnie.
Okay, we have a fan question. They would like to know, what would your characters be doing in lockdown?
I would hope they were together.
I think they'd be quarantining together for sure.
Yeah.
Probably making up dance routines.
I kind of think that Kat is splitting her time between making TikTok dances and organizing the resistance,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
just to create some balance.
Yeah.
I think Sutton would be making masks, like really awesome designer masks.
Sewing masks, 100%. Staying up all night sewing the mask.
Yes, with your new sewing machine.
Yeah. I mean, it was an expensive machine, you know?
Totally.
Gotta make it work.
And Jane would be planning, don't you think? Jane would probably be making sure that every day there was sort of like a very set routine so that none of the girls went insane.
Yeah, I would have like a schedule. Like we eat breakfast at this time. We start drinking at this time.
I want to know if Jane has a whistle also that she uses to enforce these meal times.
I also think that she's like doing journal entries every day that she's eventually gonna like make part of the Failing Feminist, like her experience in quarantine. Not that anyone really wants to read that, but she would do it anyway.
I'd read it.
Well, yeah, theoretically, she'd still, as someone who works at a magazine, she'd still have to be writing stories just like from her couch. So
That's true. You'd be the one person who still had a job.
I think she'd also like be doing like articles where she's writing about Kat's TikTok dances and then like writing something that's like new designer Sutton Brady Hunter makes the next hot mask.
Okay.
Hot Matt.
Hot mask.
all right, we have another fan question. This one's from Emma Bouchong. She said, if Meghann, Aisha, and Katie could do a Broadway musical together, what show would you want to do?
One that already exists,
Fair.
theoretically.
Theoretically.
What the heck is this? Decline.
Oh.
What the hell is that? Sorry, I just had an airdrop.
Oh.
I'm like a really big fan of the musical Sweet Charity, so I would want to do Sweet Charity.
I don't know what I would do.
I want Follies.
You would what?
Follies. Follies is so cool.
I just
We're
think that we
young.
would have to do. I still.
Older.
I just stand by the fact that we have to do a bold type musical. An episode.
Titanic the musical.
I think we have to do one too.
Spider-Man the musical.
Titanic the
I
musical.
think
Sorry.
that we all need
I'm
to be Aisha's idea.
I know.
Am I Rose?
Good idea.
You're Rose. I'm Jack.
Wait, we got it. We figured it out.
Can I be the door?
The door. You could be the ship. It would be like a totally like
I'm just holding you both and lowering you into
Pendant. You could be the
into your
pendant.
demise. I mean, at least if I'm the door, I'm trying to be helpful.
I love that.
Oh, are you saying the door could hold them both?
I could hold them both. You watch me.
Strong. Strong lady.
Oh, well, I fancy myself to be in the middle of a love triangle though, but I guess Katie could be, if you're Rose
Yeah.
and I'm Jack,
Yeah.
then Katie could be
Cal.
Say,
Oh.
who's like the bad guy.
Cal. Isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Hal? Is it Hal?
Oddly enough, yes.
Cal.
I think so.
Yeah. I'll be Billy Zane for sure.
Can you see Katie with a little bow tie on?
Oh no, Meghann, Aisha, that just makes me think of the meme with the poor drawing of
I won't make it.
Sorry. Let's
Sorry, went off on a tangent on that.
We got another fan question. This one is from Elise Sanchez. It's apparently her birthday. Happy birthday, Elise.
Birthday, Elise.
She says, has this show taught you anything about life, love, or friendship?
all of the above.
All of the things.
Yeah. It's taught me how to be more brave.
Me too.
It's taught me to, I mean, I think both on and off screen, it's taught me a lot about friendship and the power of communication. I think that's something that the girls on the show do really well, and that me, Meghann, and Aisha do really well together. What else? Made me have to, I do a lot of sex scenes. So that's weird and strange, but in a weird way, it's kind of had to make me own my sexuality and feel comfortable in my own skin, because you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Quite empowering.
Yeah. I mean, that actually ties into one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, because I do feel like this show, I mean, obviously bold is in the title, but that's a thing that I love as someone who was in her 20s and in New York. A lot of the things your characters are going through, it's like, yes, in terms of having to learn to stand up for yourself, in terms of your career, in terms of, you know, your identity, like all of these different things. Has there been a moment in your career where you felt like you had to be particularly bold?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think actually doing this show specifically, obviously you learn things on every job, but I do feel like even like coming in to do the pilot, they sat us all down and really encouraged us to come to them with our ideas and our thoughts, and really told us that our instincts were valid, and we kind of were able to like develop the stories and the characters all together as a team. And I think just being empowered like that has had like a huge impact on how I move through the workplace even after the fact.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. All right, let's work in a couple more fan questions. Allison Pepper wants to know, how did you guys find out about the show initially, and did you like originally audition for the roles you're playing now?
I auditioned for, I like read the script and they were like, let me know who you resonate with. And so I resonated with Jane, so that's who I wound up auditioning for. And I had heard about the show because the previous show that I was on before Faking It had been canceled. So then, like, normally after a show is canceled, you do like general meetings with casting people and different networks. And so I had a meeting at Freeform, and they were telling me about all the stories and shows that they had coming up. And they told me that they had a show that was like The Devil Wears Prada meets Sex in the City. And I was like, well, I love both of those things. And then I read the script and I felt like I resonated with Jane. So went through the whole audition process. And auditioning is just like, it's overwhelming and anxiety inducing, and it makes you kind of question your uniqueness and what makes you special. And I just remember like feeling really intimidated because I went into the audition room and it was like a bunch of girls that were similar to me all auditioning for the same role. And it's just, it's nice when you realize that like you're being picked for who you are, because there wasn't really much else that was setting me apart other than who I am from the other people in the room.
Yeah.
I put myself in New York, and then I flew to LA to test for it.
Was it always for Sutton?
It was for Sutton, yeah. There was a really interesting moment that happened when we were testing. Like, we did the studio and the network test and everything all in one day, and like it was over. and I was in the car going back to where I was staying, and I got a call from a manager, and she was like, they want you to come back again in the morning because they want you to retest. Like, one of the girls, they had cast Aisha, and then one of the other actresses who had been testing for Kat, they wanted to test again at Sutton. So I went back and essentially tested against her, right? You read with both of us?
Oh, yeah, I did.
So I was always testing or reading for Sutton, but they did switch.
Yeah.
You know, they did have someone who was reading for Kat read for Sutton, which was cool.
I only ever auditioned for Kat too. I think like all of us feel like the characters that we're playing, you know. But honestly, I wasn't sold on the show when I first thought about it. I was like, okay, you say it's a show about feminism, but I doubted whether or not it was going to include like intersectional feminism in it, and whether it was really going to be what it said it was. But was pleasantly surprised when I, became a little more involved and got to have some conversations with them, and just knowing that they were going to incorporate a queer Black woman and a lesbian Muslim woman and have them be in a relationship. Like, I've never seen that on TV, and it felt really important and just really fucking cool to see someone explore their sexuality and their queerness in this very like open and just like a beautiful way. So
Yeah. Well, I also want to touch on Wendy, when you stepped up into the showrunner role in season 4, there's so many, amazing elements of the show, but was there something specifically that when you took over, you really wanted to amplify in terms of just like creating the show?
I have to be honest, from the minute I screened the pilot and had the privilege of being on the show, I just felt like I was supposed to be on this show. I am born and bred Manhattanite. I worked in magazines in my 20s. These girls were me, and so I just always felt like it was like it was my natural sweet spot and happy place. And you can see by watching these women and how they interact with each other, it's all there's so much magic there already. And so for me, it was just making sure that we were being authentic always, that that words weren't just being said because they were words, but that we were challenging each other, that they were challenging each other, that we bring humor and edge and just like all the life moments that these guys bring to regular real life. So it was just really an extension. It's kind of fun to be able to have the last pass sometimes, because I love writing their voices. It's so much fun. And again, we collaborate and we're just really honest with each other. And it always comes from a good place. It never comes from an accusatory place. And I think the end product is like awesome.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite elements of this show every week is the cold open. I think you guys have done some of the most amazing. Do you guys have a favorite cold open? I feel like I have like 10.
Yeah, there are some really good ones. I kind of love that became the signature thing that we do on the show. I think of.
Well, to me, it always felt like the cold open was always like a way, for me at least, I don't know if it's exactly true, but it felt like us kind of winking at the audience and being like, it's okay, it's kind of a fantasy, we know. So like, do you know what I mean? Because it always feels like a little bit more heightened in the cold open, and
Totally.
I always loved that.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one is actually the finale of this season. We get to sing a song that is a favorite of mine, and it changed about half an hour before we had to shoot it. And Katie was like, I don't know this song. And I was like, honey, let me show you the gospel rendition of this song. And
well, I knew the song, but I didn't like know it by heart like I knew the other song.
Right. But I had to educate. I had to do it because we had to do a gospel version of it, and we didn't get permission, but I'm glad it went over well.
It's pretty special.
It's very special.
I got to be there for that too, and it was so much fun, and it's very catchy. You guys did such a good job. And even like when they're just singing a song, the three of them they just bring a different uniqueness to whatever they do, and there's natural humor there. That, you know, I'm not saying be funny when you do this or have a moment where it goes a little over the top and you're kind of not paying attention. You know, they just naturally bring all of that. So it's great.
I actually do have a favorite cold open, and it's when Aisha proposes to me and kisses me. It was actually my favorite one.
I love that one. I think it was episode 2 when Jane, in season 1, when Jane is sort of being, testing out a sex position with you guys.
That's
and
good.
everybody's sort of, you know, in like a twister formation. And I thought that was really fun.
That was a good one.
And we played Lizzo in that scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a funny.
It was season 2, episode 1.
It was
right?
It was season 1, episode 2.
But it felt like season 2 because it the pilot.
Time isn't real, everybody. FYI.
They get hard though. Those cold opens get it's not always that easy to come up with something.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a super challenging thing to have to constantly, because you have to do it in a way where it like makes some sort of sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I love the one also at the juice bar where you were all at the wrong juice bar and then you ran to each
That's
other.
I do like that one too.
All right, well, we have time for probably one more question. I'll throw it to the fans. Let's see. Izzy Bartling would like to know, what advice would you give each of your characters?
Chill out. Yeah, I would tell Jane to chill out. Jane needs to be sedated or something sometimes.
All right. Meghann, Aisha?
I don't know. It's weird. I feel like Sutton is always giving me advice. Like I learned so much from her journey, you know, especially given that she's sort of going through like all this like really big girl stuff right now that like I haven't been through yet. And so I feel like I'm learning a lot from her, but I don't know, I guess so harder. I think like, yeah, stick to styling maybe. No, not real advice. Aisha!
Sorry.
I think what's cool is that they each give each other advice all the time on the show. Like I think, funny enough, there were 2 episodes back to back where we had Sutton telling Jane to just breathe. And I came to Canada for the episode where I was doing a scene where Sutton was telling Jane, relax, just breathe. And then our writer from the previous episode, Neil, was still there, and he came up and he's like, no, I just did that. We just did that scene for a previous episode. So it's kind of fun, but like, you know, I feel like our
Jane is still not breathing, apparently.
So we had to change your advice to Jane a little bit, but I think that you guys are always giving each other advice in a really cool way that is probably what you would give yourselves.
I mean, the real advice that I would give Sutton is probably trust yourself, because I think she has really good instincts, and I think that part of something that she really struggles with is like owning her instincts. So that's what I would, on a real note, that would be my response.
Yeah. There's so much advice I would give to Kat, but we can't get into it. We need an entire therapy session for that. So, but I love getting to see the girls fail. I think it's just as inspiring as seeing them thrive. So, you know.
Yeah, amazing. All right, I think that is pretty much our panel. Thank you guys all so much for being a part of this ATX from the couch.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Wendy, I love you. It's
Love
so
you
fun
guys.
having you on these things with us.